Good morning, St. Peter's, day 52, living by faith, Hebrews chapter 11. Here we have what is faith, or ask this question, what is faith? Faith is the reality, verse 1, of what is hoped for, the proof of what is not seen. And by it, our ancestors won God's approval. Now, as we hear that, we think faith is something that has not connected at all to proof, but he's saying it's the proof of what is not yet seen. He's talking about proof of the future. But faith is grounded in rationality and a reality. And the faith that's grounded in the reality, to the letter of Hebrews, is the reality of what God has done in the world through the nation of Israel in the past, his promises that have come true, how he's kept them secure and what he has done with them. And this faith is ultimately grounded in the Lord Jesus Christ, in the reality of what Jesus has done, his life and his death and his resurrection. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff under that connected to Jesus' life that is connected to rationality. That is to say, it is a rational, reasonable response to history and the knowledge that we have to suggest that Jesus is the person who he said he was. It's a rational response. But faith is grounded in that rationality and that reasonable nature of what we are, and it's looking toward the future. It's a life living now, trusting God, with eyes set on the future, not knowing how that will work out, however, trusting what God has done because of the Lord Jesus. And he uses a few examples of faith, living in the now, and we can just do a few. By faith, Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac. He received the promises, and yet his offering was his one and only son. He considered God able even to raise someone from the dead. That is, Abraham knew God and knew what God had done in his past, and even though he had to offer his only son, he walked by faith, reasoning that God can do anything, and perhaps God can even raise his son from from death to life. By faith, we have Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and the prophets, who by faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, obtained promises, shut the mouths of lions, and so on and so forth. Women received their dead raised to life again. Other people were tortured, not accepting release. That is, all of these were approved by faith, even if people mocked them, if they followed God, or tortured them, or put them aside. They didn't receive what they promised, but God provides something better for us. And so they're made obedient to God through their suffering. How will your life turn out? How will it work out? We don't know. But you can rest on the solid rock and assurance of what God has done in the Lord Jesus Christ. And we walk every day trusting him, turning back to him by faith. And so it says at the end, verse 39, chapter 11, all these were approved through their faith. They did not receive what was promised, since God has provided something better for us, so that they would not be made perfect without us. And so he says, let us run, letting aside every hindrance and sin that easily ensnares us and entangles us. Let us run with endurance the race set before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the source and perfecter of our faith. For the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Let's keep living for God, walking forward by faith, trusting in the promises of what God has done.